So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. So guys, Kavaliauskas has basically come out and said that Vergil Ortiz is more powerful and faster than Terence Crawford. This is probably going to come a bit of a surprise to certain people, because I do agree that he's more powerful but faster. Now, he is fast. Vergil Ortiz is fast. When I initially saw Vergil Ortiz, I thought, you know what, he's a little flat-footed. He's a little flat-footed, and someone like Terence Crawford would just outbox him and pick him apart. After that performance against Kavaliauskas, he showed a lot more boxing intelligence. Kavaliauskas is a big welterweight, and Terence Crawford is not a big welterweight. It would be very interesting to see how Terence Crawford would handle that kind of pressure, that kind of power. But in terms of faster, I don't think he's faster in terms of hand speed. However, I don't think there's a lot in it. I think Vergil Ortiz is very fast, and I think Vergil Ortiz has got better footwork than what I initially thought. And I think Vergil Ortiz is a lot more powerful than Crawford. I think, you know, his punches are dangerous. You know, they're the kind of punches that can hurt you. So he's definitely, for me, more powerful, and he's a bigger welterweight as well. So I do agree with Kavaliauskas, and Kavaliauskas has been in the ring with both guys. So he knows. He knows better. You know, he's been in the ring with both guys. He hurt both guys as well. I would love to see how Crawford would deal with his kind of pressure, strength, and power. Because if Vergil Ortiz catches Crawford, like I said, it could do serious damage. That's a serious fight. You know, prior to the fight against Kavaliauskas, I think people would have probably said the fight's probably like 80-20 in Crawford's favor. I think after watching him against Kavaliauskas, you probably have to say 60-40 or maybe 55-40. I'd go 60-40 in Crawford's favor. But the gap has definitely narrowed, because that performance by Vergil Ortiz showed me a lot. He showed me that he's got a good chin. He can come back from being hurt. And Terence Crawford showed that against Kavaliauskas as well. And against Gamboa. But again, now Crawford will be fighting someone bigger than him. Very strong and very powerful. Now, Crawford's angles could cause Vergil Ortiz some trouble, because we all know Crawford's very tricky. He's a lot smarter than Vergil Ortiz. Even though Vergil Ortiz is smarter than what I initially thought, I still would say that I still will go as far as saying that Terence Crawford's boxing IQ is a lot higher than Vergil Ortiz's boxing IQ. But there's no shame. There's not many guys out there that have a kind of boxing IQ like Terence Crawford. So there's no shame, you know, in not having the IQ of Crawford. But it's definitely interesting to see how Crawford would deal with that kind of pressure, that kind of size. Because like I said to you, and I said this in a previous video, that I do think that Vergil Ortiz, after watching him, he's a serious problem for Terence Crawford. That is by no means an easy fight at any stretch. That's a very difficult fight for Crawford. Trust me when I say that. That is not an easy fight whatsoever at all. That's a very difficult fight, if I'm totally honest with you. And a fight where, you know, you could see Crawford getting hurt. And like I said, I don't think Ortiz would let him off the hook like Kavaliauskas did. Ortiz is very powerful. Very powerful, very strong. And that's a fight that I would like to see. It is, I'm not going to lie, guys. It's definitely a fight that I want to see. And I'll go as far as saying, although the better fight for Crawford is Porter, because Porter is a lot more accomplished. He's a former world champion, a former two-time world champion, whereas Vergil Ortiz has never been a champion. So really, when you think about it, what has Crawford got fighting Ortiz? Nothing. He's fighting a prospect, really. And if Crawford loses, Crawford gets made to look really bad. And if Crawford wins, well, people will say he's supposed to win. You know, Ortiz was green. So Crawford hasn't got anything to gain. Well, fighting someone like Porter is seen as a top welterweight. He's accomplished. He's fought all the top guys. So Porter is seen as somebody that he's seen as somebody that is an accomplished welterweight and a top welterweight. So Crawford will get a lot more credit beating someone like Porter than he would do beating Ortiz. So the fight just makes the Porter fight makes a lot more sense for Crawford. However, I've got to be honest that I think Ortiz is a lot more dangerous because I think Ortiz is a bigger puncher. And I would go as far as saying I think Ortiz is a better boxer than Porter as well. Yeah, he's not as aggressive and relentless as Porter, but I don't think Porter hits as hard. I don't think Porter's a better boxer. And I think Ortiz is fresh as well. Ortiz is fresh. The only worry I have for Ortiz is that the way Ortiz fights, he's the type of fighter that comes across to me. He doesn't mind getting hit with 1 or 2 shots to let off his own. And that can be dangerous when you're fighting a big puncher. A big, like Kavaliauskas was a good puncher, but even a bigger puncher. And you'd have to say that someone like Ortiz's style, can you really see him being successful moving up the weights? Because, you know, like I said, that type of style, unless he adapts and improves his boxing IQ, improves his boxing ability, where, you know, he takes less punishment because he does get hit to let some of his shots off. And that, again, as you're moving up weight, can be dangerous. But as at welterweight, he's a big welterweight and he's a strong welterweight. So at this particular weight, he'll probably be all right. Crawford isn't that big a puncher, although I think Crawford has got the power to probably hurt Ortiz. I'm not sure I would bank on Crawford stopping Ortiz. Maybe if he accumulates a lot of punches, who knows, he could get him out there. But if I'm honest with you, I don't really see Crawford stopping Ortiz. But I think Ortiz is very, very dangerous for Crawford. I do. I think Ortiz could be very, very dangerous. I think Ortiz is nothing to mess around with. We're looking at a guy that's you know, as Ray would say, a serious don. He's a serious player in that division. I'm telling you guys, that guy is a serious dude in that division, and I wouldn't be confident on anyone beating Vergil Ortiz, or anyone beating Vergil Ortiz easy, because I just don't see it. I think Ortiz is very strong, very powerful. So when you think about it, I don't think anyone beats that guy comfortably or easy. I think he's a nightmare for anybody he gets in the ring with. So it's going to be very interesting for me to see if that Crawford fight does happen. And the crazy thing is, he seems to me that he wants Crawford a lot more. Is that because they know that Top Rank and design? Well, we all know that. It looks like Crawford's gonna got 1 fight left on his deal, and then after that, he's probably gonna be a free agent. So he'll be good to do what he wants to do. So that fight with Ortiz will be easy to make because Top Rank and Golden Boy have a decent relationship, and even if he was with Top Rank, I don't think it would be any. I think that fight can be made. I think that fight would be made on. You know, I don't think they'd have a problem making that fight, even if he's with Bob Arum. But I think Crawford's next fight will be Porter. If he beats Porter, Ortiz, and he can't get a Spence fight, I just think that the fight at the minute's not really realistic, because I think Crawford's going to fight Porter, then he's going to want to fight someone like Spence. I don't think you're going to want to fight Porter, then go back and fight Ortiz. Unless the fights can't be made, unless the fights that, you know, Crawford wants can't be made, I can't really see him. Can you really see him fighting Porter? I mean Ortiz, sorry. I can't. You know, I can't. But in terms of what Kavaliauskas said, I wouldn't listen. I do think that Ortiz is more powerful. I don't think he's faster, and I don't think he's got better ring IQ or better boxing IQ than Terence Crawford. But I do think he has the attributes to give Crawford a lot of trouble and potentially even beat him. Yeah, I won't be surprised if Ortiz is able to beat, because like I said, I don't know how Crawford would deal with that kind of pressure, that strength, that power. Because Ortiz seems to have serious power. You know, he's very strong. You know, he puts his punches together very well. Now, Crawford's a lot. See, Crawford, for me, he's able to adjust and able to adapt. And the thing is, if Crawford's going into a fight where he knows this guy's powerful, this guy's strong, and he's got a serious punching power, I feel Crawford has the kind of ability to shut him out. And what I mean by that is, I feel like Crawford has the ability to become defensively very sound and become tricky. Like, not as good as Mayweather in that, but I do think that Crawford can become very tricky and very hard to hit. He'll start changing up the looks on Ortiz. Like, he'll go from southpaw to orthodox, and I think that would confuse Ortiz. And as Ray said, use angles, which again would be difficult because a guy like Ortiz needs to set to let his punches go. If Crawford doesn't let him set and keep giving him angles and making it difficult for him, I think it becomes a very difficult fight for Ortiz. So yeah, I do agree that I think the fight is a very difficult fight for Crawford and Ortiz. But I think both guys have attributes that could cause each other problems. I do. That's my opinion. But what do you guys think? I'd love to know your opinion. What do you guys think? Do you agree with Kavaliauskas that Vergil Ortiz is faster and stronger than Terence Crawford? What do you guys think? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what you think, guys. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.